Pleasure to welcome to the podcast Emily Lamparter, Clemson goalie. Emily, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I want to hear the story of when you first jumped into goal. Do you remember that?
Yep. It was in fourth grade. It was like kind of like that little youth league situation where nobody wants to be the goalie and somebody gets thrown in. They pick a different person for every game. So I was in fourth grade, and I remember it was my turn to get thrown in. And my mom actually, she did not want me going in there because she was scared of me getting hurt.
Right.
And she also just thought I was using it as an excuse to get out of running. But I ignored her, went in, and ended up having myself a day. And my coach was like, "Hey, I really think you can do this."
I use goalie as an excuse to get out of the running. So let's be honest, that's a huge perk. That's a huge perk that you
Yeah,
got. I gotta believe there's a high correlation between like goalies who jump in have tremendous success and those who stick with it, right? Like if you would have got lit up
yeah,
that first time, taken one off the thigh, and then you probably have been like, all right, I'm going back to field. Wouldn't you agree?
for sure. I definitely would not have gotten back in there.
Yeah. What was it about the position, do you think, that attracted you so much? I mean, was it just that initial success or was there something else there?
Um, I feel like a bit of it was that initial success because before that I've been playing midfield and the only thing I was good at was running up and down. I didn't have any stick skills or anything. So being in a place where I had like confidence in and I had success, I never really had that in my life at that point.
Mm.
It was a good feeling and I kind of was chasing that feeling.
Yeah, that is a good feeling, right? Now you're a lefty. Did you set up the right way or did you do it reverse when you first started or talk to me about
I think
that?
I was I think I was holding it like a player stick.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of
I might
goalies,
have gotten lucky.
yeah, a lot of goalies do that. Like I've seen it where they'll like grab it, kind of like down here, and instead of like just kind of going to like catch it and kind of make a save, they kind of like hold it like a couple feet down and then just kind of like swat at it. I'm sure you've seen that from
Yeah.
young goalies as well.
Yeah, I was definitely a swatter.
A swatter. Yeah. So how did you go from then being that swatter to learning how to make saves?
I was really fortunate that my high school program, I went to Mount Sinai High School in New York, and we had such a strong youth program, and our high school players were really involved with us. And so I was lucky enough to have Julia Michaels. She actually went on to play at Villanova, but her junior and senior year, I was lucky enough to have her work with me, and she really taught me the basics of the game. So I'm really appreciative of her.
That's awesome. So she taught you like here's how you stand, here's how you hold the stick. Let's not do the swatting. Let's do a
Yeah.
step and drive your hands to the ball and all that good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Now you're from like South Carolina, right? I hear a little Southern twang in there in that accent. But you said you played in New York?
Yeah, so I grew up in New York um, from when I was born to I graduated high school. The next day, my family moved to South Carolina because my dad, he had been commuting back and forth to Charlotte for about a year and a half before we
Oh, wow.
moved.
Yeah,
And we just figured that me graduating was a good time
got it.
to move down. But I think going to Clemson is kind of hard not to pick up a little bit of the twang.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. My my mom is from Pittsburgh, or her family's like from the Pittsburgh area, and we live in like Northern California. But every time she would like go back to visit her family, she would like come back and for like 2 weeks, she'd have like a different tone going on like in
Yeah,
her speech because you pick it up. You pick
it
it up
happens
right?
quick.
Yeah. I bet. So really you're probably more like you identify more being a New Yorker?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would
All right.
say.
I got you.
It's kind of my upbringing.
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. What about then, as you're learning the position, like, do you go like full lacrosse rat? Are you watching a bunch of lacrosse? Are there some goalies you like to watch and kind of learn from?
When I was growing up, as soon as I had that like initial success, that day in fourth grade, I was a complete lax rat. I would say like my dad also like he kind of saw that I had like that spark and he had never really seen that before from me.
Oh, cool.
I I feel like at that point like I really wasn't super into sports, but once I kind of found like where I was supposed to be, he kind of like fully invested in me. So um like all the time I would have him like shoot on me. We'd do position work. Obviously, I would work with Julia because she was working with me. And then also like my dad would like constantly be looking up like drills online and sending me videos and it's like, hey, why don't you check this out? I
Yeah.
still remember like Scotty Rogers, like he used to do those YouTube videos and I would watch his and like do some of the drills that he would do.
Love it. Love it. I hope he found a few of my videos and sent them your way.
Yes, he
All
did
right.
actually. I was
All
gonna bring
right.
that up.
That's awesome. So I was going to ask, now, did he play lacrosse or no?
Yes, he played up until high school. Um, he always he went to this small school in New York called Dix Hills High School, and he always brags that they were like the first team to ever beat Ward Melville, which is like a big boys lacrosse dynasty in Long Island.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
always talks about that. But he didn't pursue it in college, but he always had that love for the game.
Awesome. Yeah, I was going to ask how, how exactly he went about helping you because a lot of lacrosse goalie parents don't have that background in lacrosse. Sounded like he did. So he knew how to shoot.
Yeah.
He knew that's awesome. What about like, did he know anything about being a goalie on the mental side, or did he also sort of, you know, do his research and kind of find some mental game tactics to share with you?
Um, I would say he did like the mental side. I think it's a little bit similar because he played defensive midfield. So part of that, like you got to have like a certain mentality to play that it's a really tough position to play. I
Yeah.
don't think it's as tough as being a goalie mentally. But he always told me like when I was younger, I used to get really upset when I would get scored on, and he could like tell it in my body language. And he would
Hmm.
always just he wasn't really much of a like a yelling parent, but I would always like look over at him and he would just give me a thumbs up and just be like, just keep your head up. And that I feel like it helped a little bit. And then obviously as I get older, I learned a lot more of the mental side of the game and how to improve myself when I'm in a slump or things like that.
Yeah, I just envisioned him being so stoic, like a Chuck Norris, just like
It was like
yeah, everyone's just like, oh no, and you look over and he's just like thumbs up. But part of that, there's something to be said about that, right? I know a lot of goalies I talk to, like they have told their mom, like, hey, I can't have you on the sideline because like I look over
yeah.
there and you're a nervous wreck, and then that feeling then translates to me, and I feel it. So you need to watch the game from somewhere else, right?
Yeah, I know a lot of goalies that have parents like that and I guess I just lucked out.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's great. That's awesome. You mentioned, I used to get really upset and it would kind of show in my body language. Very common problem for young goalies. If there's a young goalie listening to this and they've got that problem, what do you say to them?
Um, One thing that I've kind of discovered as I kind of grew was having like a mental reset. Whether it's like something you do after you let in a goal. Um, I think also when I was younger, I struggled to like identify whether I messed up and like I should have had that. But then also there's a time where the offense has a really good shot and it's like, okay, like they had that really good shot. Maybe next time I'm getting that one though. So having a mental reset, whether I kind of do like a stick twirl and then a couple deep reps and then I'm right back into it.
Hmm. Yeah, that reset routine is huge. I talk about that quite a bit. Like probably with a deep breath too, because sometimes, you get really shallow and like that deep breath can like really help. It goes a long
Yeah.
way in calming things down. And then yeah, something physical, like give it a little stick twirl. And then do you do anything like verbal? Do you have anything like that you say to yourself?
If I get scored on maybe like one time in a row, I'll just do the stick twirl. But if it's
Yeah.
been like two or three, that's when I start getting into like the mental side of it because that's kind of when like you need to make a save or else it's just gonna keep going down. So I think at that point I do the verbal where I'm just like, okay, the next one, I got the next one.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll even say breathe.
Yeah. Then what sort of tricks come out when you get scored on 4 times in a row?
Um, I think at that point, talking with teammates helps as well because we have
Oh, it
that
does. Yeah.
defensive huddle um, after we get scored on. We talk about things that go wrong, and like obviously not all of it's on the goalie. If we're getting scored 4 times in a row, it's not always on us. You know,
Yeah.
it could be a lapse in the defense, but also making a save could help the defense and get them more prepared. So I always turn to one of my teammates, Paris, who's she's awesome, but she always just looks at me and just says, "Let's go."
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think, kind of going back to that original question of not getting so upset, having the conversation and letting them know that the youth goalies that they're going to get scored on, right? And it is a team game. And I think so many youth goalies put too much on their own shoulders. And
Yeah,
in a certain way, that's good. Like, I want you to own it, but in another way, like it can become very harmful if like, you give up a shot right on the doorstep and then you're down on yourself and then that affects the next play, right?
yeah.
Yeah, move on. Um, awesome. What's your favorite part about being the goalie nowadays?
Uh, I think for me is I like the difficulty of the position. It's not always going to be perfect, but when you do have those games where um, you're like 65, 75, 80% save percentage, there is just like no better feeling in the world. And
Hmm.
so, like striving to have that game whenever I play is always like, it's just such a rewarding feeling. And at Clemson, like we get rewarded if we have a game where we're over 50% or we make 10 saves. Like they make a point to shout us out in the locker room. So that's pretty good to have the support of your teammates as well.
Yeah. The difficulty, I love it. If it was easy, everyone would be out here being goalies, you know?
Yeah.
We get the spotlight. But it's hard. It's a hard position and that's cool. Embrace that difficulty. I like that quite a bit. Um, and then yeah, especially in the women's game, because women's shots are like they're all within 8 meters, right? And so it's
Yeah.
for the most part. And so like the save percentages of the goalies are like typically a lot lower than the men's. We see a lot more outside shots. And so if you can go
Yeah.
65% in the women's game, I mean that is like pure domination, right?
Yeah.
Have you had games like that?
Think last season I had a few. I'll never forget playing Virginia Tech. I think like for the first time since maybe high school, I went like above 80%. And
Mm.
like, I don't know, I just felt on top of the world. But then obviously, like, you're going to play the next game and it's not always going to be perfect. So just knowing that like you're capable of it is a good feeling.
Yeah, that is good. So what do you think you did in that game? Was it because sometimes like goalies struggle with consistency, right? Where like you have one great
Yeah.
game and then you show up, and this was one of my issues, and I never knew if I was going to be like on or not. I never knew. So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And so like people before the game be like, "How you feeling?" I'm like, I think I'm feeling good, but we'll see." But I
Yeah.
don't know what happened that game, do you think?
I think a lot of it was a bit of a emotional game. Part of it was like our pink out. Our coach had breast cancer and she beat it, but it was a game honoring her. So there was like a lot of emotions behind that. So we
Mm,
all wanted to come out and play our best for her. And then also the year before against Virginia Tech, it was a close game. And I just loved close games, knowing that it's going to be like back and forth. But then I wound up like having such a good day, and our defense had such a good day, and our offense had such a good day that it didn't even wind up being close. But like going up against a team that's super competitive, that's also why I just love playing in the ACC. Is like every game is a battle.
yeah. Yeah, I like the close games too. I mean, it's easy, and blowouts either way to get down and not be fully into the game, right? But yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome. And then yeah, I didn't know that about your coach. That's really awesome that she was able to beat it and
yeah,
still remains cancer free.
yep,
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's amazing. Awesome. And then what was the pink out? Like you guys just all wore all the crowd wore pink?
Yeah, the crowd wore pink, and then our players, they got like custom SCX shafts that were pink. They said Clemson on them. They had the little breast cancer ribbon. It was really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you why the pink? Because I've seen like Clemson like you had like some warm up shirts or something like that with the pink. And
Yeah.
that's the reason?
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, cool. Um, awesome. So when did you kind of first realize then that, you wanted to play Division 1 lacrosse?
I think as soon as I had my like little aha moment in fourth grade, I was like, I really want to take this to the highest level. So from then on, I did struggle for about a year after that, but just really working on my technique and getting better, it started to become like kind of evident to me that it was a realistic goal,
Hmm.
especially if I kept working at it at the rate that I was going.
Yeah. And what, like, when you talk about working at it at the rate that I was going, like, talk me through what, like, some training would look like. And also, like, were there some camps involved there? Did you train with some other coaches
Yeah,
too? I'd love to hear about that.
yeah. Um, when I was younger, I literally didn't, there was never a point outside of school where I didn't have the stick in my hands and I was working at it. I like before school, I
Wow.
would go out in my backyard and I would do footwork with a ladder. I would drill the technique of the stepping with cones, and then I would do some rebounders work, and then obviously a little bit of clearing. And then after school, I'd have practice, and then after practice, I'd see my trainer that I trained with from fifth grade to my senior year, Antonio Misone. He was a goalie at Cabrini back in the day. And I think he really got me to the level that I'm at right now. He's just great.
Love it. 5 days a week, you do that? Maybe,
I
maybe a day off here and there.
Yeah, I would say about 5 days a week. Definitely like school days is when I was
Yeah.
definitely doing the work, and then Saturdays and Sundays. I feel like those were a bit of like the wall ball days, getting out on the wall,
With the
like
play
learning how to juggle.
with a player stick, or do you play with your goalie stick?
Goalie stick.
Got it.
Those are definitely like a lot more relaxed days.
Yeah, yeah. Talk to me about working with Coach Antonio. You said he sort of revolutionized my game, kind of taught me how I play now. I'd love to hear what exactly
Yeah.
that means.
Um, so obviously he was a men's goalie, and I feel like that's kind of the sort of style that I play. A lot of people have said this to me, that it's like you play like a men's goalie. I'm just very, I would say I have a flat arc when I'm playing,
Yeah.
and I'm more of like a stay home goalie and just a lot more like composed and poised. Whereas I feel like the women's game, the coaches kind of want you running around a little bit, like intercepting passes, things like that, which I do a little bit of, but that's kind of how I've had success is playing the way that he taught me.
Hmm.
And then he's just like I had like so many drills that I still do here that he taught me that were a lot more reaction based.
Mm.
So I feel like from there I just developed like such quick hands and I was able to get to the level that I am at now.
Yeah. One of the things that I would say is more common in the men's game is a wider base with the feet, right?
Yeah.
Do you play like that?
I would say wider than most, at least the goalies on my team. I have a little bit of a wider stance in comparison to them, but it's nothing super crazy. It's
Hmm.
maybe like an inch outside of my shoulders or 2 inches about.
Hmm. I like it. What were some of the what you mentioned there's some drills that he taught you that you still do to this day. What's your favorite one if you could share one?
So we would do this drill off the wall where I would stand about like an arm's I'd put my arm out and put it up against the wall, and whatever the arm's length was is where I would stand and set up. And
Hmm.
I would take a player stick, and have like the back of the head turns, and he would stand behind me with like a pile of tennis balls and just rifle them. So it was really up close, really fast coming off the
Mm.
wall, and I was just like really testing my reaction time and learning to be explosive.
I like that one. I've heard that one called mystery shot, but it's like you're back further away. I think I might have first seen that
Yeah,
one on Scotty Rogers' video that you're
yeah, it might
referencing.
have been him.
He definitely has a video demoing that drill, but you're farther back away taking shots, and in this version, you're right up against the wall and doing reaction.
Yeah,
So I like it. I like it a lot. Cool. So Division One lacrosse, and I'm really impressed by that work ethic. Right. I think when I hear all that training that goes in, it like really clicks to me that like a lot of kids say they want to play Division One lacrosse or to play some sort of high level lacrosse in college, and then you ask them what they're doing, and it's like, well, I go to practice, right? And it's that's not
yeah.
enough. That's not enough.
No,
Like you got to do
no.
that morning work. You got to do the work after practice. You got to put in those random wall ball sessions. You got to carry around your stick to the grocery store and like everywhere you go, right? And so I think that was
Yeah.
like a huge thing that kind of clicked in my head. So that's kind of cool that you shared that. I appreciate that. And then Maryland comes calling, or yeah, maybe you called them first. I don't know. Talk to me about how your recruiting process went down.
Oh boy. Okay. So when I was 13, Maryland had sent like a general email to a bunch of, I guess, like travel programs. And then that was sent to my parents that they were hosting a clinic. I believe it was in Farmingdale, so about an hour from me.
Mhm.
And at that time, that was still when people were getting recruited really early. So
Before, yeah, yeah, yeah.
before this, yeah, the
Before,
junior year thing happened.
mm,
So at that point, like I was in eighth grade and I was going to colleges every weekend, any camps or clinics that I could find. I was going out there, just trying to get myself some exposure. But when they came to Farmingdale, and I was in the middle school group, but my mom emailed Kathy Reese and said, "Is it possible that my daughter can play in the high school group?" And she was okay with it. She probably just thought that she was some crazy parent or something.
right.
But I went to the high school group, and I wound up having like one of the best clinics of my life. And afterwards, I spoke to her, nothing about recruiting wise, just saying it was great to meet her, everything, took a picture. I would say a couple months later, I had a fall ball tournament in Maryland. I remember I was playing a game and I look over on the sideline and I see Kathy Reese. And I was
Yeah,
like,
wow.
oh my gosh, what is she doing here? And then a month after that, I get an email saying, "Hey, we'd love to have you come down for a visit at the University of Maryland."
Yeah. And did you look at any other schools, or is it at that point, or was it is that kind of it?
At that point, um, I was looking at Yale, Virginia, and I believe Army.
Yeah.
But I was just like really young in the recruiting process. But
Oh, of course. Yeah.
um, I mean, like when Maryland calls you,
It's a good program. It's a good program,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um, in addition to work playing for Coach Kathy Reese, you also got to play with Emily Sterling, who I've had on
yeah.
the podcast and worked with her really closely in a couple other uh, training projects that I've done. I'd love to hear, what did you learn specifically playing with Emily?
So that was like a really great year for me to just like develop my game and kind of see what it takes to be a college goalie because like coming in from high school, like the level of play is drastically different than um, coming in and playing Division I college lacrosse and like being the youngest person on the team your freshman year. And she was just so great. She took me under her wing right away. Even like before I got on campus, she reached out to me. And
Hmm.
so she was great. And I just really loved watching how she prepared herself for the games and everything she did. So obviously, just took mental notes.
Mm.
of what she was doing because she was having great success, and it was awesome to learn from her.
Yeah. Now, and you mentioned the game being a lot, faster, quicker. People are shooting harder. Did you then
Yeah.
did you then modify your own goalie game, or did you kind of stick with what you had been doing in high school?
I would say I stuck mostly to what I was doing in high school, but there were certain things that I learned that I was gonna have to fix. Um, Especially in like women's lacrosse, there's a lot of feeding from behind into the front or into the sides, and then it's like a quick stick
Yeah.
where they're shooting it real quick. So that's something I didn't really see a lot of in high school just because like they weren't getting passes off like that. So I did like a lot of work with my turns and kind of perfecting my angles because at that point it's not even like your reaction, it's like how fast you can get there and how fast you can cut off that angle and then make the save.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of stuff I learned that year.
Yeah, and it's also on that. I mean, it's also too about getting set really quickly, like very as quick as you can. Because I think a lot of times when you turn and it's happening so fast that when the shot comes off, like you're still in the process of turning, or you still got 70% of your weight on your right foot as opposed to
Yeah.
being balanced. And so, yeah, that's cool. And then also another mistake that I see a lot of goalies make is as you turn, like you'll change levels where like maybe your stick will kind of like come
We'll
down during,
drop.
yeah, it'll drop during the turn and then like come back up. And so like, just being that little toy soldier and like being able to keep that same position is key.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Cool. Any other stories about Maryland that we need to know that you need to share with the Lax Goalie Rat listeners?
Um, I would say my favorite part about Maryland was they had this. This is such a goalie thing, but this is like literally my favorite part about Maryland. They had this big light board called like the Dynavision. And when I was on my recruiting visit, I looked at my dad. I was like, "This is so awesome!" But it's like this little light board, and you like press a computer and you can like start it, and it was almost like a game, and like the lights would light up, and you just like as quick as you can. Um, and we would like compete with all the other goalies, and so that was like my favorite part.
I was like, it's like a hand-eye training thing where you light up and you gotta tap the lights.
Yeah,
Okay, I like it. Yeah, yeah. I think that's a great exercise for goalies, don't you think?
yeah. I told our Clemson coach that we have to get one, so hopefully they're in the process of
Yeah, let's
working
go.
on bringing it in.
Cough up that money for what's it called?
Yeah,
The Dyna machine?
Dynavision, I think. Yeah, I think it was
Dynavision.
Dynavision.
Dynavision. They're not cheap. I'll tell you that much.
No.
You know what I've heard goalies use is the oh man, now the name's really escaping me, but they're kind of like little individual unit. Blaze pods is what they're called. Blaze
Yeah,
pods.
we have
Yeah.
those here.
Oh, you have those? Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you use those?
Yeah, we started using them in the spring mostly. We actually started using them at first. Last fall, I had a concussion, so that was part of my rehab to coming back was just like sitting down with the blaze pods and like trying to get as fast as it was, and they're just using that as a baseline to see like how my reaction time was progressing throughout the recovery.
Mm.
And then because our athletic trainer had them, and then I said to our athletic trainer, I was like, why don't we just start using these in practice when we're in a drill when the goalies aren't doing anything? We don't need the goalies for. So a few times throughout the spring, we were out there just competing with the Blaze Pods, and we would like compete against each other. It was a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Who would win? You?
Uh, yeah,
There you go. Let's go. Let's go. Um, that's cool. Having two goalie Emilys on the same team has got to get a little confusing, right? What did you guys
yeah.
go by different names?
She went by Emily, and I went by M. I think that's what it was.
Okay.
Or
Well,
sometimes people would say M, and then they would talk to her, or sometimes they'd call me Emily, and she'd be like, "But
you're right,
we
right. Like
worked it out."
Emily, you're in the goal, and like you both go running out there. Um, Very cool. What was I gonna say? Oh, yeah, the concussion. So talk to me about that. Boom, shot to the dome.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I've had a few of those in the past couple of years, which I never really had them in high school, but I think that's like just a testament to like college athletics and how much stronger the girls are at this
Yeah.
level. But yeah, just I think I got like hit here both times. So it's like that part of the helmet where it's not as extended far.
Yeah.
So like if you get hit there, like the impact's a little bit more. So
It always like it just makes me so irritated when I hear stories like that because as goalies we're gonna get hit in the helmet. Like how could a helmet
yeah,
not fully protect you from a concussion? It just uh
yeah.
irritates me quite a
But I've
bit.
been
But
wearing the Q collar.
the Q collar, yeah.
So I've been wearing that ever since and knock on wood, but I haven't had anything since then,
Yeah.
not even like headaches or anything.
Yeah, they sent me one to like partner with them. I think if you're listening, I think if you use coupon code LGR, you get like a discount, 10% discount. And so I put it on and like it so it like pinches your neck a little bit, right? And
Yeah.
it takes a little while to get used to. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah. The first week that I used it, but because after I got that concussion last fall, I believe that was my second one, my coach was like, you got to wear it at all times now
Yeah.
because just like safety reasons. And I was like kind of miserable for a week. But after a while, you get used to it. Like I don't even notice it now.
Okay. Yeah, it did well. So it does take a while to get used to, but it sounds like you pop it on and it's like, you that pressure is no longer something you're like, oh man, what's around my
Yeah.
neck. But essentially like the way it works is and you can correct me if I'm wrong if you know anything, but it provides that little pressure on the vein and the in your neck, right? The jugular. And so
Yeah.
you get a little bit more blood in the head as the blood can't escape. And that just provides a little bit more cushion from
Yep. That's
impact.
exactly what it is.
Yeah. And as I was working with them, they made it blatantly clear you cannot say prevents concussions because nothing
Yeah.
prevents
Nothing.
concussions.
Yeah. You get hit hard
But
enough, it's gonna
yeah,
happen.
yeah. But it does help from
Yes.
repeated thing. I've also worked with Lexi Shield, and it's just like a foam padding that you like attach to the forehead.
Uh-huh.
And so that's another option. And then there's the Guardian cap. I don't know if you've seen those where
Oh yeah.
they go around the whole thing. But anyway, all right. So fully recovered from that, and let's hope with that Q
Yep.
collar that you stay out of that. Cool. And then you transfer to Clemson. So I would love to hear the story and kind of your reasoning behind making the transfer.
Yeah. So I believe they announced the team that they're gonna start a team in August 2021. And that was like right around the time that um I was gonna be starting my freshman year at Maryland. I remember saying to my dad, I'm like, oh, that's like such a bummer. Like they're starting a program that would be like so close to where we live and like they could go to all my games and stuff. But I was like, oh, I'm going to Maryland now. But I think as the year progressed, um, I just kind of I I didn't realize how homesick I was going to be.
Mm,
Um, and so I was really feeling that, especially when I would like go to games and like I was like one of like the few people that their parents couldn't always come to the games because it's such a long drive for them.
right.
And I just didn't realize how much that was going to affect me throughout the year. And then also I'm a nutrition major and they had that at Maryland, but I wasn't able to do it there because of the way the practice scheduling works.
Oh, yeah.
So um, I was just kind of like feeling all of it at that point because I was like
Yeah.
homesick and I was didn't really know what I wanted to do major wise and career wise at that point. And I was really hoping to do something with nutrition. Um, so at the end of the year, I just kind of felt like it would be the best option for me to like at least find something that was like a little bit closer to home so my parents could be there for me.
Yeah.
Um, so I was lucky enough that when I got into the portal, like 2 minutes later, Allison, well, coach, emailed me, went on a visit like the next week and been here ever since.
Love it. Love it. Did um did you so there's a very big difference between playing for historic program like Maryland, and
Yeah,
I guess now would be a second year when you first started a second year program in Clemson, right? Don't have the
yeah.
history, don't have like I don't know, just like a lot of the traditions, let's say. Did any of that cross your mind, or was like, no, I'm just kind of homesick and they got my major. I'm gonna go for it.
Um, I'm kind of like a person that like likes to be challenged. Um, and so when they announced the program in August 2021, the year that I transferred would be the first year that they started the program. Um,
Oh, so you were like on the very first team.
yeah, they had a
Got it.
recruiting year sort of to because that's when coach got hired and stuff, and she started putting the team together and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
So like the idea that like I could be a part of the team in the ACC that is just starting out, and also like if you ever go here, the facilities are like absolutely wild. All the things that they provide for us, but also I mostly committed because of coach and just the way that um, she is with all of us. She's just great.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, a lot of I've heard it go both ways where like a lot of goalies embrace that idea. Like
Yeah,
I get to set that culture, right? Like,
yeah,
I get to be part of the, that first group that really forms and how we do things around there. And yeah, nice facilities never hurt anybody.
yeah,
Well, that's cool. So now you're now going into your senior year?
yeah. It's kind of
Right.
scary.
All right. But you have an extra year or this is the last hurrah.
Um, this is still the last hurrah because I was like the last. I think last year was the last COVID group,
Yeah.
so I don't have like one of those COVID years. It's also confusing now because we have like so many people on our team that are like fifth and sixth years because like
Right.
the Ivy League got 2 years and
Right.
everything.
The last goalie I interviewed before this is he got two COVID years. And so you're like,
Yeah,
24, 25 playing college lacrosse. I
yeah,
love it. I love it. Best years of your life. Why not
yeah.
continue to extend them as long as possible, huh?
No, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Um, you mentioned you're a nutrition major. What should I eat? What should a young lacrosse goalie eat? Is that one of the classes?
Um, I don't know if it's lacrosse goalies in particular, but we did do a sports nutrition class.
Uh-huh.
I took that last spring, and it was just interesting to learn about like the different balances of macronutrients that athletes have to have in comparison to the regular person.
Yeah.
Um,
What is that?
so
A lot more. Wait, let me
a
see.
lot more carbs.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah. A little more carb heavy.
Yeah, they tell us here because we have a team dietitian as well. They tell us here like our plate has to be like 60% carbs and then 30% protein and then 10% fat. It's a good
Really?
balance.
Really? Usually I go like 60% protein if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
I'm more
I mean
weighted on the
it's not a
protein.
bad thing.
Yeah,
It's not a bad
right.
thing.
I'm also not practicing lacrosse every day. I'm sitting in an office chair
Yeah.
editing videos and talking to people about lacrosse. So my my lifestyle is very different. So then do you as a team, do you guys have like all of your meals together and like at the facility or how does that work?
So we have an athlete dining hall at Clemson. Um, it's actually Olympic athlete specific. So we have like a dining hall that's for our football team, a dining hall for our two basketball teams, so men's and women's there. And then we have a dining hall for the Olympic athletes. So it's like lacrosse, softball, our track team, soccer, golf, tennis, all of those athletes. And they serve Monday through Thursday, like all the meals of the day. So they're open. And after practice, like I'll go and I'll see like the entire team there.
Yeah.
And then I think Thursday is like when they have like their best meal of the week. Like they'll have some sort of, um, I think today is like chicken parmesan or something. So
Yeah.
I think my entire team will be showing up to that one.
Yeah, we're recording this on a Thursday. So today's the good
Yeah.
day, huh?
Yep.
All right, take me through if you could, like a breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner.
Um, that they serve at the dining halls
Yeah,
here,
yeah, yeah, yeah. That you would
athlete
eat
dining
on a
hall.
normal day. And then if you got some snacks in there too, let's talk snacks.
Gotcha. So breakfast at our dining hall, um, they have this nice little frittata. It's like a, it's egg, turkey, and Swiss frittata
Okay.
that they make. Really
Yeah.
good. So I'll eat
I'm not
that.
hearing any carbs just yet. That sounds like a lot of protein in there. Maybe some fats with the cheese. Wait, what was
Yeah,
it? Egg,
egg, ham,
ham,
Swiss.
Swiss. Get your fats in there. All right.
Yep. And then they have hash browns there just about every day. And if not,
Mm,
if they don't have hash browns, they got biscuits or things like that. They usually have turkey bacon, not regular bacon, because they got to be healthy somewhere.
mm.
And so I'll have that probably before practice. Um,
And you,
and
real quick, this
then
this is great. I'm really entertained. Do you practice then? Do you practice then right in the morning? So where's that in relation to your?
okay, so we practice like 8 a.m.
Oh wow. Okay.
But the dining hall opens at 7, so you can go in there and you don't have to sit down. Like you can get a to-go box. So
Yeah.
that's usually what a few of us do. So we'll get a to-go box, eat in our facilities like kitchen area.
Hmm.
Um, and then after practice, I'll grab carbs. So I'll grab like one of those Nutri-Green bars. We have a bunch of those at our
Yeah.
facility. They're really good. And then we'll head over to lift. And then after lift, we'll get a protein shake. And then right around there is about lunchtime before classes. So we'll head over to the dining hall. It's usually lunchtime is usually like chicken, salmon, mahi sort of thing.
Nice.
They'll have some sort of, and it's all like marinated and brined differently on different days. So it's not the same thing you're eating every day. So we'll have that. It's usually rice or pasta with that. And then um, grab a few snacks. I think I usually take a protein bar for my classes. Um, finish my classes, head over to dinner, and it depends. Like sometimes we'll have like um, tons of different meals. Like we'll have, I think the other day we had salmon bruschetta. So it was like salmon, but with like bruschetta topping on it. It was
Sounds
really
good.
good.
Sounds good. Yeah.
And then some sort of pasta. But then tonight is chicken parmesan, so that's a little bit different than most days.
I like it. Awesome. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm hungry now. Cool. Let's see. What would you say, talking about last season, give me a little breakdown about how your season went. And I think I did a save, an Emily Lamparter save edit, but if there was one game in particular that you really felt like you shined, what would that be?
um, I would say I'm going to say UNC and Virginia Tech. Overall, we had a pretty good year. I really thought we were going to go to the tournament. Then we had like a little bit of an unfortunate upset in Louisville last year that kind of kept us out. But I think UNC and the Virginia Tech games were the games that I did, I would say, my best in.
Yeah.
Maybe we played Notre Dame in the ACC tournament. Um, I've always just had a good game against them because I just have a lot of respect for their offense. Um, like whenever we play Notre Dame, I'm watching like 2 hours of film because their offensive sets are like actually crazy. But um, yeah, I would say those three games were my best.
Love it. Did my Oh, we're good. We're good. I was gonna say, what you watch 2 hours of film. What, like, how do you break it down? Are you just watching the game? Are you like, when you're watching them on offense, are you what are you looking for? What kind of notes are you taking?
So we actually have like a student coach, Max Alberici. His dad is the head coach at Army, West Point. But he's here because he's a student at Clemson. He's here helping us out, and he makes like a little shot chart for us
Mm,
to look over for every single game. So he'll go through all the opposing team's film and just create a shot chart of all the goals that they scored or any of the shots that they taken, where they went, whether they were a goal or not. This release of it, I think it must take him like hours to create this, but I really appreciate it. But I go through and look at that, and then I also, um, because I don't
Is
want to
it
always rely that they're gonna go where the shot chart says that they're mostly gonna shoot. But then I
yeah.
also look at the film and see their tendencies, like, oh, if the pressure is coming from the right, are they gonna put it stick side hip or not? Because like the defensive pressure may vary where they want to go.
Yeah. So does the chart like for one particular shot, it just have is it just like a visual of like, oh, they shoot a lot from, I don't know, like top center? Or is it like this girl shot top center, it was a bounce shot, it was an overhand release.
Yes.
It's like that. Wow.
Yeah. I think he like spends like all day doing it, but it's awesome and it's
Yeah. But
appreciated.
that's a lot of info to take in for you, right? Like how do you like
Yeah.
I mean, let's say they shoot 40 times in a game, you got to see which player's doing it. Like there's a lot of info. So how would you take that and apply it? Or are you just kind of looking for trends?
Kind of looking for trends a bit. I know like it's not always good to anticipate that that's where they're always going to go.
Yeah.
So I'll do a mix of looking at the shot chart and then also looking at the film and kind of more looking at where also they're like releasing it from because like sometimes like if they're put on the top left of the crease, they might shoot a certain way. Then if they're on the right side of the crease, they might put it in a different spot. So just kind of
Agreed.
looking at
Yeah.
the trends with that.
Yeah. I wonder if does he do it by hand or does he have some sort of like app?
He uses it. He uses like an Excel spreadsheet, I think.
I gotcha. I would love to make, I don't think a perfect app to track goalie stats exists. So
Yeah,
I would love to make one. And then like the output would be, it would be visual. So like you would, during the game, you're like logging, you would log, let's see, each shot would be like where on the field it happened, but
yeah,
also like where on the goalie, right? Like stick side, off stick. And then you could see those two charts sort of visually and be like, oh, like I need a lot of work on my off stick hit because look at all those red goals I've given up.
yeah,
I don't think anything like that exists. So be on the lookout
yeah,
for that in a year.
yeah. During our games too, like he brings his iPad out and he has like this little picture with his like Apple Pen.
Yeah.
It's like a picture of the cage, and every time out or halftime, I'll come over to him and kind of look at because he'll do like an X if it's a save and a circle if it's a goal, and kind of look at where it's going.
Mm. Because most teams are very predictable. Most offensive shooters, like they got their move and
Yeah,
they're pretty predictable with it, you know?
yeah,
Yeah. So once you can understand those trends, but then also I know, like you said, a lot of goalies don't like to have all that info in their head. They just relax. So I think you could make an argument. I could think you can make an argument on it both ways.
yeah, for sure.
Awesome. And then how many goalies you got over there in your goalie room now?
We've got three goalies. We got a freshman coming in this year. She's been doing great. And then we have a junior. She's been with me the past 2 years.
Yeah. What?
Awesome. And we just had a goalie last year graduate. She was a graduate student.
Cool. What tips have you been giving the freshman goalie?
I think for sure I can see like a little bit of my freshman self in her, and I've been trying to help her with that. Like she like at times just like a little bit overwhelmed.
Mm,
Because our practices are kind of like things I've never really like had before, like at not even at Maryland or like in my high school years, but our practices are like extremely fast paced. We do a lot of fast paced drills. So it's just like always keeping like your head on a swivel, and we're constantly doing man down drills and just like as soon as like the ball goes in or you make a save, like you're throwing out the clear and they're coming right back at you.
cool.
So I can see her like getting a little overwhelmed, but I was
Ex-
overwhelmed at one point too.
Yeah,
So
yeah. You're like, that's me.
I was like, yeah.
Yeah, you got this. You got this. What about, have you ever gone through a slump? And if so, how did you get out of that?
Yeah, I would say last spring, like the first few games, um, I wouldn't necessarily say I played bad, but I was letting in shots that I knew I should have had. Um, and like at that point, I my coaches are really respectful of like keeping their distance from me, like when I'm upset, but then also like there's certain times for me personally, I love criticism, and I know that's um kind of like a hot take. I know some people really don't want to hear it from their coach, but I had a bad game, our first game of the year against Davidson last year, and I remember texting my coach after the game, and I was like, "Hey, can I come in to like to do some film review with you?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." So I went through that with him, and I just said to him, I was like, you can yell at me, right? Like,
Hmm.
because I feel like that also helps me get into the zone a bit. So, like, the next few practices, like, if he saw me letting in a goal that he thought I should have had, he would be like, Emily, we got to have that one.
Oh,
And he would
yeah.
like yell it out so the whole team would hear. And that kind of stuff where like I get fired up really helps me and it helps me concentrate more. And then also, in addition to that, I stayed after practice a bit and we went through. I think it was low shots I was struggling on, just not getting my body over the ball.
Hmm.
So we went out and we repped those out. And I think the next game I had was against UNC, and I had a good game that day. So it was nice to get out of that.
Yeah, right. Um, that's so interesting. So it just goes to show you that all goalies are different because I know like
Yeah,
me personally, if the coach like yelled at me and said, you got to have that one, I would be like, yeah, I know. Like, obviously, like you don't need to tell me that.
yeah,
Like I would not want to hear that because that's the track that's already going in my head. But for you, it
yeah,
motivated you. And so, for the parents listening, for the coaches listening, I think understanding how your young goalie gets motivated and very key, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Um, awesome. And what else does he do to get you sort of fired up?
I think sometimes you can tell when my energy is off. Like when we're going through maybe a pregame warm up or even pre-practice warm up, where I'm just not stepping correctly, or if I'm just being very lazy with my technique,
Mm-hmm.
he'll be like, "What are you doing?"
What do you do?
And so like when I first met him, like the first year, he would never like say anything like that to me. But once I told him that that's what I needed, he felt completely comfortable. So that's why they kind of kept their distance after the game last year. But I was like, listen, that's what I need.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Love it. Love it. Um, very cool. Well, congrats on a great year.
Thank you.
Yourself personally, and then, for being such a young program. You guys got a lot of great wins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, good luck in the upcoming season. I was going to ask about kind of your stance. Like, take me through your stance because one of the things that you got going on that I see, at least in pictures, I don't know if you still do, but you do,
Yeah.
kind of like the men's goalie, where
Yeah.
you're gripping it way up here on the throat plastic. Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually didn't notice that was normal until like I said to one of the other goalies on my team, I was like, "Hey, like, do you have like this hole in your gloves from holding your stick?" And they're like, "No," because they hold it below the throat of it,
Yeah, like
so
kind of
that
like
doesn't happen to them.
touching the plastic, but not like gripping it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I hold kind of by the neck of it,
Yep.
and then I do like that. Have you heard of the method where like it's like to your elbow?
Yeah, and then you put the tape. This one's a little bit lower because I do the bottom, but yeah, but like
Yeah,
right there, hands that far apart.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
about what I do.
yeah. One of
That's
the
what
thing,
felt more
and then
comfortable.
you're kind of like I would say like over here, right? As opposed to like having like a little bit of bend in it.
Yeah, I kind of try to keep it straight up.
Yeah, talk to me about that because I you see a lot of goalies nowadays like use the bend, but I also see some go straight up and down.
I think I tried the bend maybe for like a week when I was younger, But what kept happening to me was I felt like when they were shooting off stick hip or lower, like my stick would get caught or my like gloves would get caught.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to keep it like straight up, more out in front.
Mm-hmm.
I think it provides like a little bit more freedom to my hands, personally. But
Yep.
everybody's different. Like I know like goalies that do the little bend. It's
Yeah.
just what
Yeah.
works for you.
Yeah. That's great that you tried it, right? That's kind of what I recommend for all goalies is
Yeah.
like try with a little bit of a little bit of angle and then I think personally this to me works better, but I'm not going to knock it if it like you have success by keeping it straight up and
Yeah.
down. So, um, awesome. Well, Emily, thank you so much for coming on, kind of sharing your story and uh, sharing some goalie tips along the way. Good luck in the upcoming season. I'll definitely be watching.
Thank you.
I just got into women's college lacrosse like very like recently, like within the last couple of
Yeah.
years. Like I never really understood it. And then I started watching a lot of goalies play, and now I really enjoy it. I really enjoy watching
Yeah.
women's lacrosse. It's just so different than the men's game. It's you can't really like compare them, you know?
Yeah. Just a completely different style of play.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is more like, it's kind of more like a basketball kind of concept, where you're
Yeah.
not doing that like, I mean, there's contact, right? And you're riding them just like basketball, but like, the fouls are there, just like basketball.
Yeah.
You can't do the hard hits. But I love watching the goalies play, and so I'll definitely be watching you.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you had to leave the goalies out there with one final piece of advice, what would that be?
I would say to always just trust your training and what got you there. I feel like at times when I was younger, um, when I was struggling in games, I would like constantly think like, "Oh, this is so bad. This is so bad." But you have to constantly think about the work that you're putting in and trust it and know that you're going to be successful because of what you all the work that you're putting in. So, and then obviously, I would definitely incorporate that mental reset button sooner rather than
Mm,
later.
good point. Emily, thank you so much.
Thank you.